Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Jewel Jordan.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2019 to 2023 American Community Survey 5-Year Estimates pre-release webinar. Today's webinar is focused on helping you prepare for the release of the 2019 to 2023 ACS 5-Year data products. Before I proceed, I'd like to say a special thank you to our American Community Survey respondents for their participation in the survey. Without them, we would not have these data, which are so important for America's communities. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everyone of where they can find resources for this upcoming release. Today's slides are currently available in the 2019 to 2023 ACS 5-Year Estimates Press Kit. We'll also be posting a recording of the webinar there if you'd like to refer back to it. The link provided on this slide will lead you to the press kit containing these materials. If you are in need of closed captioning, click on the CC button in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. During the course of the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask questions. We have subject experts on standby to answer them. We will also have one verbal Q&A session at the end of our presentation. To ensure we maximize our time for questions, all callers are allowed one question and one follow-up question. If you're unable to ask your question or have additional questions after the webinar, please send them to the Public Information Office via email at pio@census.gov or by phone at 301-763-3030. My name is Jewel Jordan, a Public Affairs Specialist with the Census Bureau's Public Information Office. Our presenter today is Charles Gamble, a survey statistician with the American Community Survey Office. I will now turn it over to Charles, who will provide you with information about the American Community Survey.
Thank you, Jewel, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today in preparation of the American Community Survey's 5-year release next week on December 12th. Before getting started, I want to outline what will be covered today. First, I'll cover next week's American Community Survey data release of the 2019 through 2023 5-year data. Then I'll give you a brief overview or refresher of the American Community Survey, and next cover what changed for this 5-year release. I'll also briefly talk about the various tools you can use to access ACS products, and then provide additional resources on the ACS website. Last, I'll provide you with dates for our remaining releases this data year. And to close out today, we'll open the webinar for any questions you may have regarding next week's release. So next Tuesday, December 10th, the 2019 through 2023 ACS 5-year data will be available for early release through the media embargo ahead of the public release next Thursday on December 12th. These estimates cover the 2019 through 2023 time period for all geographic areas. The media embargo on Tuesday, December 10th will begin at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The embargo site will contain all products on data.census.gov as well as a summary file. The press kit link provided on the slide provides access to the 5-year data products available for media. The public release will be on Thursday, December 12th. The news release and data products on data.census.gov, the application programming interface, or API for short, and the summary files will be available by 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Additional data products such as narrative profiles, which are available on the ACS website, quick facts, and My Travel Area will also be updated with the 5-year data. Before we dive into updates on the release next week, I first want to provide a brief overview of the ACS and 5-year data products as an overall quick refresher about the survey itself. The American Community Survey, or ACS, is the premier or detailed information about the nation's people and housing. The survey samples approximately 3.5 million addresses each year, and these data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates for communities throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. These estimates cover more than 40 topics, and the ACS collects these detailed information each year that was previously collected by the decennial census each decade. Information from the ACS generates data that help inform how trillions of dollars in federal funds are distributed each year, supporting more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. ACS data are timely because they are released the year immediately following the year in which they are collected. Therefore, the ACS creates period estimates, which means they represent the characteristics of the population and housing over a specific data collection period. With that said, the ACS releases estimates for both 1 year and 5 year periods. The ACS was fully implemented in 2005 after years of extensive testing. The first ACS 1 year estimates were collected in 2005 and released in 2006. And the first 5 year estimates were collected between 2005 and 2009 and then released in 2010. The content collected by the ACS can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics. We have social, demographic, economic, and housing. Social characteristics include topics such as educational attainment, language spoken at home, and veterans. The ACS also collects basic demographic characteristics such as sex, age, race, and Hispanic origin. And economic characteristics include topics as commuting to work, employment status and income, and housing characteristics include topics such as computer and internet use, housing cost, and vehicles available. These topics are used to produce more than 1,000 tables for local communities each year, and they power countless news stories every day. And we want to send a special thank you to our media partners who power their stories using ACS data. So in addition to the 40 plus topics the ACS collects data on, another strength and what the ACS is known for is the number of geographies in which data are available. Starting from the top at the national level all the way to your local community, the ACS provides data for more geographies on an annual basis than any other household survey. The 5 year data release next week will include more than 616,000 geographic areas. These geographic areas include granular geographies like census tracts and block groups. And there are 65 different summary levels available for the 5 year estimates. Unlike the 1 year ACS releases, which have a population threshold of 65,000 or more, geographies in the 5 year release do not have a population threshold in order to be published. Geographies in the 5 year release are nation and American Indian and Alaska Native areas and Hawaiian homelands, all metropolitan areas, all congressional and state legislative districts, all counties and places, zip code tabulation areas, and census tract and block groups, with block groups being the smallest level of geography produced by the ACS. For specific guidance on 5 year estimates, first it's important to understand the concept of a 5 year period estimates, as all ACS estimates are in fact period estimates. So period estimates describe the characteristics over an area over a specific time period and not a single point in time as what you will find with the decennial census. In the case of 1 year estimates, the period is 12 months, and the estimates in the 5 year release are pooled together across 60 months. Now, it's important that we note 5 year estimates are not an average of the 1 year estimates. The 5 year data released next week will describe the population and housing characteristics from January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2023. So after the data are pulled together, they're updated with the geographic boundaries of the last year and the period, in our case, 2023, and then assign the appropriate weights to produce population housing estimates. Weights are adjusted using the population housing totals controlled for age, sex, race, and Hispanic origin, which are derived from the Census Bureau's population estimates program. Also, income and dollar estimates are adjusted for inflation based on the most recent year of the period. Therefore, 2019 through 2023 5 year estimates are adjusted to 2023 dollars. Now, a question you may be asking is, when should I be using 5 year estimates instead of 1 year estimates? So you'll want to use 5 year estimates when no 1 year or 1 year supplemental estimates are available. But please remember, 1 year estimates cover geographic areas with a population greater than or equal to 65,000, or there are supplemental tables available for populations of 20,000 or more. But if the geography you are seeking does not meet those thresholds, you will then have to rely on 5 year estimates. Another instance you will want to use 5 year estimates is when the margins of error for the 1 year estimates are larger than desired. The margin of error is a measure of sampling variability that is presented along with all ACS estimates. For example, 5 year estimates are helpful when analyzing small population groups because of higher margins of errors associated with them. Also, if you're comparing several geographies and one or more of those geographies do not receive 1 year estimates due to the population size being too small, You will have to use 5-year estimates to compare those geographies. If you do find yourself interested in comparing 5-year data, we encourage you to make comparisons only with non-overlapping data sets. Therefore, comparing this year's 2019 through 2023 5-year data to the 2014 through 2018 5-year data or any earlier 5-year data set. Comparing non-overlapping data sets allows for a comparison of unique data. Also, only compare 1-year data sets with other 1-year data sets and 5-year with other 5-year non-overlapping data. Please do not compare 1-year estimates with 5-year estimates. Now, 5-year estimates are helpful when comparing across geographies because all geographies are represented in the 5-year estimates, as opposed to the 1-year estimates. For example, all counties and places, such as towns and cities, are available in the 5-year regardless of the population size, and this is not true for the 1-year estimates. Also, 5-year estimates are great for making comparisons across subpopulations like ancestry and language groups. When an estimate from the Population Estimates Program, or PEP for short, is available, such as the total population or number of males or females in a county, the PEP data is an official value and is preferred. And one last note, when making comparisons, percent estimates are more often reliable than count estimates that they are based on. Because of this, we recommend that users compare percents instead of counts where possible. However, data users can compare count estimates if needed. So now moving on from the basics of the ACS, let's go over the updates for the 2019 through 2023 ACS 5-year release. Starting with geography changes, each year there are updates to various geographic areas across the country. These changes occur for various reasons such as annexation, disincorporation, and geocoding updates. This can reduce the comparability of some geographic areas, but ensures that most recent versions of geographic areas are used in our tabulation process. A few noteworthy geography updates coming in this release: the 2023 ACS data products for core-based statistical areas, or CBSAs for short, also referred to as metropolitan and micropolitan statistical areas, are based on post-2020 census revised delineations published by the Office of Management and Budget on July 21st, 2023. There are 935 CBSAs in the 2023 delineation. The majority of these CBSAs retained the same codes from the pre-2020 delineations, while some were allocated new codes due to new delineations or name changes. Some CBSAs that retained the same codes featured one or more geographic changes, such as an increase or decrease in area. You can access a 2020 to 2023 CBSA relationship file using the top link on the bottom of the slide. And the other noteworthy item is the updates to the New England city and town areas, or NECTAs for short, such as NECTA divisions, principal city, indicator NECTAs, and combined NECTAs have been discontinued in the 2023 ACS data products. And we did post a user note on our website in September regarding this discontinuation of NECTAs. Finally, I want to touch on population controls in the ACS for the 2023 data release season. ACS data are controlled so that the number of housing units and people in certain categories are consistent with the Census Bureau's official estimates from the Population Estimates Program. After the 2020 census, we plan to use intercensus estimates as controls, and intercensus estimates are produced once a decade when both the beginning and ending populations are known. In this case, that would be the 2010 census and the 2020 census. Due to delays in the 2020 census processing, the 2010 to 2020 intercensus estimates have been delayed from 2021 to 2024. Therefore, the population controls for the 2023 ACS 5-year data products will not be fully informed by the 2020 census. The 2023 ACS data products will use the vintage 2023 blended base population estimates that incorporate the 2020 census, vintage 2020 population estimates, and the 2020 demographic analysis. Within the blended base at the national level, it is accurate to say that resident, household, and group quarters population totals, as well as Hispanic origin detail, are derived from the 2020 census. Age and sex detail is drawn from the 2020 demographic analysis, and race detail comes from the vintage 2020 population estimates. Now, beyond geography and population control updates, I also want to point out some table changes. So for new tables, this 5-year release has 2 new housing topic tables, 3 new race tables, and 1 new quality measures table. The new housing tables are B25140, which includes the addition of 9 new race and ethnicity iterated tables showing housing costs as a percentage of household income greater than 30% and greater than 50% for owners with a mortgage, owners without a mortgage, and renters. The race iterations of this table are identified by characters A through I at the end of the table ID. Table B25141 has also been added for homeowners insurance costs by mortgage status with or without a mortgage. New race tables B02020 and C02020 provide data for American Indian and Alaska Native alone population for selected tribes and villages. And table B02021 provides data for American Indian and Alaska Native alone or in any combination for selected tribes and villages. These 3 new tables provide estimates for detailed American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages rather than for tribal groupings. And these 3 tables replace tables that I will speak about in just a few moments in our deleted table slide. New subject table S9801 provides publicly released metrics for the first time on how the ACS meets Census Bureau statistical quality standards. There are also modified tables on several topics. First, table B15013 and B15014 were modified to only provide data at the nation and state geographic level. Estimates of median annual earnings for detailed field degree groups have high variance at lower levels of geography. So previously, these tables were also available for geographies lower than the state level, for example, counties and places. Industry tables B24134, 5, and 6 were also modified to reflect changes to the 2022 Census Industry Code List, which was mandated by revisions to the North American Industry Classification System known as NAICS. The NAICS is the standard used by federal statistical agencies in classifying business establishments. Continuing with modified tables, journey to work and migration tables were also updated. This is S0802 and S0804 were modified to include columns for workers who worked from home. And there was also an update to quality measures table B98021. Line 9 of that table was renamed to contact attempts halted in order to reflect a wider variety of non-interviews. A few race tables were also modified. The universe label for detailed table B02010 was modified to American Indian or Alaska Native alone or in combination with any other race, removing the phrase people who are from the beginning of the table label. New row labels were added to tables DP05 and CP05 to include detailed American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages, replacing tribal and village groups. Now, as far as our deleted tables, detailed tables B02014, C02014, and B0217 are no longer available. Based on feedback from tribal leaders through consultation, we have discontinued the use of tribal groupings. Tribal groupings refer to the combining of individual American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages. Instead, we are now providing data on specific American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages. The tables on this slide have been replaced by tables B02020 and C02020, as well as B02021 listed on the new table slide. So next, I'm going to provide information on how data users can access the 2019 through 2023 5-year data products and what products are available. So before diving into how to access the data, I'm going to give a rundown of the data products that are available for the 5-year release. On the slide, the letters in parentheses next to the product name is the table identifier as it appears in data.census.gov. The number represents how many tables are available for that type. Data profiles show both estimates and percentages for a particular geography on a variety of topics in one table. And these are for profiles. These are for profiles for social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics. There's also a selected social characteristics profile for Puerto Rico, which is identified by having the PR at the end of the table ID. Comparison profiles, which are identical to data profiles, but offer comparisons of estimates across different ACS years, providing side-by-side data from two non-overlapping 5-year periods. For example, comparing 2019 through 2023 to 2014 through 2018. This product is best for comparing estimates over time. Also, subject tables. They're like data profiles, but these tables include more detailed ACS data classified by topic, and subject tables are topic specific. Detailed tables contain estimates and margins of errors only organized by topic and are the most specific tables in the ACS product package. So all the products I just mentioned are available through data.census.gov, our main dissemination platform, but we also have narrative profiles, which I'll talk about right now. So narrative profiles, one of our more popular products, help data users interpret the data by providing a written explanation along with ACS estimates. They are pre-generated reports that describe a geographic area by providing text and graphics for roughly 15 different ACS topics. If wanted, users can choose to produce a report on all 15 topics or simply a subset of topics for their selected geographies. On Thursday, December 12th, the narrative profiles will be updated with the 2019 through 2023 5-year data. The difference with narrative profiles is they are not made available on data.census.gov. Rather, these profiles are made available on the ACS website, and that webpage location is provided at the bottom of this slide. Another tool available to access ACS data is the API, or known as the Application Programming Interface. So the API is a data tool enabling researchers and software developers to access and use Census Bureau data within their programs and applications. But this is a tool that presents data in a standardized way, and by standardizing the API query language across multiple data sets, the learning curve for researchers and developers is much easier. With the API, you can select any variables in multiple data sets and place them in a raw format for the layout of your choice. The API includes many Census Bureau data sets, including the ACS 1-year and 5-year data sets, as well as the supplemental data as well. Do be mindful that the API is not included in the embargo, and it will be updated on release day December 12th with the 2019 through 2023 5-year ACS data. Early in the webinar, I mentioned other tools such as Quick Facts, My Tribal Area, and a few others will also be updated with the 2019 through 2023 ACS 5-year data. Quick Facts is an easy-to-use application that shows tables, maps, charts for our most frequently requested information for more than 10 census surveys and programs. Do be mindful that Quick Facts does have a population threshold, only providing data for geographic areas with a population of 5,000 or more. My Tribal Area is another tool that is quick and user-friendly. My Tribal Area gives 5-year ACS characteristics estimates for tribal areas across the U.S. So if you're looking for data on areas such as tribal reservations, trust lands, etc., this is a good tool to use to find that information quickly. My Community Explorer, which is an interactive map-based tool highlighting demographic and socioeconomic data from the ACS and other data sets. We also have On the Map for Emergency Management, providing data for disasters, natural hazards, and weather events using the ACS as well as other Census Bureau data sets. It will be updated with the newest 5-year estimates shortly after the new year. And the Census Business Builder tool will also be refreshed with the 5-year ACS data by the end of January. CBB for short is a mapping tool geared towards users needing data to help start or grow a business to help them better understand the business landscape. And as you likely know, data.census.gov is the primary platform to access data from the Census Bureau, including the data for next week's release. Data.census.gov will contain most of the data products you are looking for. And data.census.gov allows users to filter searches through topics or geographies, download data files, and create customized maps. It includes ACS data from 2010 to present. There are a variety of how-to materials, video tutorials, and FAQs to help you use data.census.gov. And if you are interested in learning more, please feel free to visit the links at the bottom of the slide. So I want to take a moment to highlight some of the important areas of the ACS website and a few web pages that can support you and your use of ACS data. Obviously, the data itself is the main draw for users. You want to get the data and use it to help your communities, support your organizations, and or make important decisions. But with that said, we don't want to overlook the resources we provide and how they help you understand the data in anticipation for next week's release. So first, we have the ACS main page, which is a great tool to start with if you have questions about the ACS. This page can be found by going to census.gov/ACS. The ACS website contains a wealth of information about the survey, data products, tools for data users, and other helpful information. The News and Updates tab will lead you to our data release schedules, new and notable documentation about what is to come in each release, as well as table and geography changes specific to each release, excuse me. This page is broken out by year, updated throughout our data release season as new data products are released for both 1 year and 5 year estimates. If you're interested in learning more about the latest available geographic boundaries, the Geography Boundaries by Year webpage is a useful resource. It contains a list of geographic areas such as counties or tracts and the vintage they used for each of the survey. You can also learn about planned updates. For example, the Census Bureau highlights its plan in the 2022 Geography Boundaries by Year webpage to discontinue the New England city or town areas, the NECTAs, geography starting with the 2023 data release. Referring to these pages can give you an insight into planned updates for geographies. Now, for users that have access to data but need more information to understand the table and complete their analysis, we offer technical documentation in the form of code list, subject definitions, group quarter definitions, instructions for applying statistical testing, comparison guidance, and accuracy of the data. ACS data offer expansive geographic coverage, and at times data users may encounter tables or estimates that are suppressed or not available. Sometimes data are unavailable because the estimates do not meet statistical quality standards. Other times, data are suppressed to protect respondent confidentiality. Finally, data anomalies that could not be corrected may result in table suppression. The new ACS data release rules published a few months ago with the 2023 ACS 1-year release exist to ensure that published data are of high quality and that they safeguard respondents from disclosure. These release rules describe the ACS data products released each year and the rules that are applied to determine whether ACS tabulated data products and estimates will be published. The brief also provides guidance to data users about how to proceed in exploring other options when the ACS data they are seeking is unavailable. The ACS data release rules include population thresholds, minimum unweighted case requirements, data quality filtering rules, geographic restrictions to ACS tables, and treatments for data anomalies. This brief has replaced the previous version, which was called the ACS data suppression. The link on the slide will lead you to the new ACS data release rules brief. Another popular resource within technical documentation is the table shells and table list page. Table shells display the layout of tables without the estimates or margins of error filled in. They contain the line number, description of the data, and the table ID. For most data years, table shells for detailed tables are available in 2 different formats, individual table shells and one file for all detailed tables. Table shells for other types of products may be available through the file transfer protocol or the FTP site as shown on the slide. And the ACS table list contains columns with table IDs, table titles, table universes, and 1 year and 5 year availability for all detailed tables, supplemental estimate tables, comparison profiles, data profiles, and subject tables in one spreadsheet. Under guidance for data users, we have our subjects included in the survey page. This page lists the different subjects or topics under the 4 broad characteristic types, so social, housing, economic, and demographic. Each are linked to ACS tables on data.census.gov related to that topic. So for instance, choosing ancestry under social will bring you to the ACS data tables on ancestry. The table results will automatically default to 1-year tables, but you can easily change this to 5-year tables by selecting the filters button in the upper left-hand corner and then editing the filters to your liking. As you have seen, there are many resources for learning more. With data.census.gov resources, you can learn how to effectively find demographic and economic data from the U.S. Census Bureau's main data search platform, data.census.gov, as well as other data tools. Census Academy is your learning hub for data skills. Here you can learn how to access and use Census Bureau data your way through our how-to data gem videos and in-depth courses, webinars, and tutorials. We also created an ACS course, which is a comprehensive guide to survey information, data access, analysis, and statistics for America's largest survey. And the ACS handbook provides specific how-to instructions and or case studies for using the ACS, with each of the downloadable handbooks customized for different user groups. In our last section today, before opening up for questions, I'm going to provide you with dates for upcoming releases to round out our data release season. So today's webinar was focused on our 2019 through 2023 ACS 5-year release next week, with the media embargo opening on December 10th and then the public release on December 12th. But I also want to point out the remaining products still set for release. Next, on January 7th of the new calendar year, we will release the 1-year data profiles for the 119th congressional districts, which you'll be able to find on data.census.gov. Other remaining products for our release season are the 5-year public use microdata sample, or PUMS for short, and variance replicate estimate tables, which will release on January 23rd of the new year. ACS PUMS files are a set of untabulated records about individual people or housing units. PUMS data are made available to data users at the nation, region, state, and public use microdata area, or referred to as PUMA, geographic levels. PUMS files allow data users to create custom tables that are not pre-tabulated ACS data products like what you find in data.census.gov. PUMS files can be found on the Census Bureau's FTP server or through the microdata tool available at data.census.gov. The variance replicate estimate tables allow advanced data users to combine estimates within a table or between geographies, as well as calculate margins of error for these aggregated data using the variance replicates. Our variance replicate tables can be found on the ACS website at census.gov/ACS and under the data section. This wraps up the presentation portion of today's 5-year pre-release webinar. Hopefully, if you had questions, you were able to ask them and get responses through the Q&A feature. If not, I'm turning it back over to our host, Jewel, for any verbal questions you may have.
Thank you, Charles. Now we'll begin taking questions. To ask a question, use the raise hand feature and we'll call on you in the order in which your hand was raised. When you ask your question, please state your name and affiliation. And because we want to give everyone an opportunity to ask their questions, we'll allow just one question and one follow-up per caller. If you're unable to have your question answered during the session, please reach out to the Public Information Office either by email at pio@census.gov or by phone at 301-763-3030. Next slide, please. Thank you. As we continue to wait for questions to come in, we'd like to invite you to stay in touch with us. One way is by telling us how you use data from the American Community Survey. Have you or your organization used the ACS to make an important decision, help your community, or expand your business? If so, please share your story to let us know and to explore how data enthusiasts across the country are using ACS data in creative ways. Doing so provides further support for the importance of the data that we collect here at the Census Bureau and is a great way to further promote our data. Also consider joining the group we have specifically for users of ACS data, known simply as the ACS Data Users Group. The group includes a website and online community with over 4,500 members where you can share messages, materials, and announcements related to the survey. Membership is free and open to all interested ACS data users. And finally, you can sign up for and manage email updates from the ACS. Our monthly events and updates email will alert you when new materials are available, and you'll stay updated on our data releases. If you're looking for further assistance on how to obtain or understand ACS data, our data dissemination specialists, or DDSs, who are located within your region, can provide you with assistance about Census Bureau data. These specialists usually provide help in English, but sometimes are available in other languages as well, depending on the needs of their communities. Whether conducting one-on-one webinars with business startups or conducting large-scale presentations at universities, these specialists strive to put the public in touch with the data that they need. DDSs provide a wide variety of assistance for free. If you're interested in a specific type of training or presentation, please reach out to a specialist in your area using the contact information on the slide. And while we continue to wait for calls, I would like to remind you that embargo subscribers will have access to the 2019 to 2023 ACS 5-year statistics beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, December 10th. The embargo period will end at 12:01 a.m. on Thursday, December 12th, and media will be able to share their stories. Full release of the data products will be done around 10 a.m. on Thursday. Qualified members of the media are able to see this data prior to the release date of December 12th. At this time, I'd like to remind those members of the media to please check to make sure your embargo passwords have not expired. In order to access the embargo, visit census.gov, then click on News, News Releases, and then Embargoed Releases. After signing in, you'll have access to embargo data in the press kit, including the presentation slides and other products. The press kit link on this page will also take you there once the embargo period begins. We will now take calls. Once your mic is connected, please state your name and your affiliation. And because we want to give everyone an opportunity, we'll allow just one question and one follow-up per caller. Our first call is going to come from Anita Bowen. If you can unmute your mic. It looks like that question was dropped. We'll take the next caller, Don Page, please. Don, it looks like your mic has been unmuted, but I can't hear you. You might need to unmute on your end.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, everyone. This is Dawn Page. I'm with Concerned Black American Citizens, Inc., and I'm excited about all of the resources available and using the ACS for the first time. And we are starting a program where we're going to be doing outreach primarily in the new codes, the Sub-Saharan and Caribbean. So I'm curious as to how we can get, it seems like there are codes in a lot of different places, how we can get all of those consolidated under the Sub-Saharan and Caribbean categories and what the process would be for that.
Thank you for your question. Is there a race and ethnicity expert on the line who can answer?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Magdalise Alvarez, and I work at the ethnicity branch in the population division. Currently, we are updating the race and ethnicity code list for the American Community Survey and the 2030 census. I sent you a link for it, but we do have a federal register notice where you can go in, open it, follow the instructions, and submit comments and suggestions and anything related to our code list. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Magdalise, and thank you, Don. We'll take our next question from Magdalene. Once the line is unmuted, please unmute yourself on your end as well, and then you can ask your question.
Is similar to one was just asked because I was curious about the comparison of the deleted table of the B02014. And so in the sense of trying to figure out how to map the American Indian Alaska Native in order to have historical data, is that just going through the code list and seeing, will I be able to have like essentially those table IDs to be able to compare those two tables, or is all historical data lost?
Thank you for your question. Is there an expert that's able to answer that?
Yes, hi, this is Talise Johnson from the Racial Statistics Branch. I'm a senior analyst in that area. And thank you so much for your question. And I did see your question through the Q&A. Yes, we have our detailed American Indian Alaska Native codes in our Hispanic origin and race code list, which I gave you a link to. And you can actually reach out directly to me. We can discuss in more detail that there are travel in B0 2014. Those are travel groupings, and the new tables have specific tribes, and we can discuss, looking at what Cherokee travel grouping is as compared to an individual tribe. So actually, if you don't mind, I think the best way may be to reach out to PIO to get in touch with me. They will connect you with me in the racial statistics branch, and I can help you with more detail on how to go about doing that. Does that answer your question?
Thank you for that, Talise. Yes, I would encourage you to reach out to the Public Information Office, either by email at pio@census.gov or by phone, and we can connect you with the appropriate subject expert and make sure that you get the information that you need. And we'll take our next call from Kurt Waukee. Kurt, you may need to unmute on your end. I'm not able to hear you. Unfortunately, Kurt, we're unable to hear you. If you are speaking, please feel free to submit your question either via the Q&A or you can reach out to us by email after the webinar. The next call we'll take is from Nick Gillinea. Oh, it looks like Nick's question dropped. So we'll take the next question from Annette.
That people were asking about the EEO tabulation table. And I know that will, from what I understand from the answers, will not be released at this time. But can you explain the difference between the EEO tabulation data that is released from the EEOC and then what you all are releasing next week?
Thank you for your question. Is there an expert that's able to answer?
Hi, this is Nate Walters, ADC for ACS Processing Geographic Coordination. Thanks for the question. The underlying data for the EEO special tabulation, which is released using 5-year ACS on a irregular schedule, depending on the EEOC request, it is the same underlying data as regular ACS 5-year standard tabulations, but there's a lot of differences in terms of the table content, table design, and geographic coverage. For more information about that, I would suggest that you reach out to PIO at census.gov to be put in touch directly with the subject matter expert who can walk you through greater detail.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that, Nate. Did you have any further questions, Annette?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will come from Ivan Rodriguez.
Hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh, thank you. I'm hope that this question is related. I have been trying to download the GeoJSON for the school districts in Washington State, and it always gives me troubles. And this is for the 5 years estimate 2022. I have been able to do it for the county level, but never at the school district level, the GeoJSON. Is it something that I need to do differently, or maybe going to be fixed in this new release?
It sounds like you might be needing some additional information in a hands-on approach. If you wanted to reach out to our office, we can connect you with the appropriate subject expert and make sure that you're getting that one-on-one information and possibly a walkthrough on how to get it.
Okay, I've been trying to do it in many different ways, but I will reach out then. Thank you.
Yes, please send us an email. We'll connect you with the appropriate subject expert. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll give Nick one more attempt to ask his question. Just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. The line will take a second to unmute, and then you can try speaking.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry, I can't hear you for some reason now, but I see that I'm speaking. Nick Gillihy, him pronouns. I'm the Native American Youth and Family Center lead for evaluation and research, and am affiliated with the Coalition of Communities of Color in Portland, Oregon's Research Justice Institute. We're super excited about the updates that have been made for Indian country and especially for sovereign territories. But I am specifically wondering if, and I've put the question already and I appreciate you, Talise, answering that in the chat, but specifically wondering about urban native populations and if there's a bit less suppression because of undersampling for urban native populations this cycle. Thanks.
Thank you for your question. Is there an expert that's able to answer?
Hi, this is Talise Johnson from the Racial Statistics Branch. That's a great question. And actually, which I'm going to have to actually probably get back to you to research that more to answer your question. And actually, would you mind repeating that one more time for me? Is the caller still there?
Nick, it looks like he's still there. I'm not sure if he's able to hear us.
I
Hi.
see.
Are you able to hear me again?
Yes, can you actually
Oh,
repeat?
wonderful. Apologies for the tech trouble. It's like, I think there's an administrator behind the muting, which is good. Yes, basically, I would imagine that Census Bureau efforts, ACS efforts to increase sampling for native populations has been focused on tribal areas, on sovereign territories. But I'm specifically wondering if similar efforts have been undertaken in urban areas where native populations tend to represent a far smaller proportion of the population, and therefore there might be greater suppression within those tables in those regions.
Yes, thank you so much for your question. Yes, I will actually take some time to research that more for you and get back to you. So in the meantime, again, if you can reach out to the PIO information office and they will get in touch with me and I will get back to you with more information on that question. Definitely great question, and we do definitely oversample the American Indian Alaska Native populations. But in the urban areas, I need to do a little bit more research, but thank you for your question.
Hello.
Thank you, Talise.
This is Mark Osceola. I am the chief of the ACS statistical design area, which includes the sampling process that we use for the ACS. Our sampling rates that we use are largely geared towards small areas. And so we're looking for, say, small places or small American Indian areas and that kind of thing. We do take special considerations when we look at the sampling rates for American Indian reservations, as well as in Alaska Native Village statistical areas, as Talise mentioned earlier. But in the urban areas, if that is outside of an American Indian area, then it tends to, we just look at the total estimated occupied housing units in that area. We don't do anything special for, say, urban native populations. So, you know, in that regard, we're not doing anything to enhance that sample in the urban areas outside of American Indian areas. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll now take our last question, which is coming from, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Taifa Balka. If we can unmute Kaifa.
The request has been sent.
Kaifa, I'm unable to tell if you're able to see the request. If you're not, feel free to submit your question either via the Q&A feature or to our office, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. At this time, I'm not showing any other questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap today's webinar. If you all think of any questions following today's webinar, please contact us using the information on the slide. You can also connect with us by subscribing to our email alerts, where we share important information about our data releases. Additional information about the American Community Survey and this release can be found in our press kit, which you can get to by visiting census.gov. And finally, we ask that you please fill out the evaluation form. We want to ensure these sessions are helpful to you all. The link to the evaluation will appear once you exit the webinar. And this wraps up today's webinar. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and thank you to our presenter, Charles. As a reminder, the data we have discussed today will be released to the public by 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, December 12th. We look forward to next week's release and look forward to your use of ACS data. I'm Jill Jordan, and thank you again for joining us.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.